Good afternoon. This is Marvin Appel of the Systems and Forecast Investment Newsletter. Back again with Daniel Gramza, President of Gramza Capital Management at the 2018 Chicago Traders Expo. In our last segment, you gave us your worldwide market outlook, which was actually very optimistic from the point of view of an American voter and investor. I hope everything you said perfectly comes true.
Me too.
And you also mentioned that you take into account both fundamental considerations and technical when you formulate your investment hypotheses. And so we've heard some about your fundamental outlook. I was wondering perhaps if you'd share with our viewers what technical indicators, for example, lead you to be bullish on U.S. equities, and what developments from a technical point of view would change your bullish outlook?
That's a good question. I would say this. I think fundamentals are critical. Mm-hmm. I think they're critical in the sense that it's what creates people's opinions about the market. So I think they're important in that regard. I do not trade the fundamentals. Mm-hmm. As a trader, I trade the technicals. And the reason is that price movement puts money in my pocket and takes money out, right? So I feel even though I may be, for example, bearish on crude oil fundamentally, but if crude oil prices are going up, I'm a buyer of crude oil. Right. So I'll go with price action. So I guess that's the first filter. Price always leads my decision, final decision. Now, technical tools. I'm very familiar with a variety of tools. I've been looking at them for over 30 years. But the one that dominates my interpretation technically, it's a use of Japanese candle charts. Okay. Now, I call them behavioral candle charts. Okay. And here's why. Are you familiar with candle charts?
Yes, Marvin? I don't use them, but I'm certainly familiar with them.
You've seen them, you know?
Oh, yes. Well, many successful traders do swear by them.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that, I mean, it is another tool. Yes. But for me, my background, I come from the floors here in Chicago, trading floors. And I was in Tokyo to teach a course for Bank of America, for clients of the bank. And a part of this course was for me to trade U.S. Treasury bonds. So I went into the dealing room, found some trades in U.S. Treasuries, put the trades on. I'm walking out and I see a gentleman at this large table drawing these candle charts. And I said to Kuno-san, the gentleman I was with, I said, Kuno-san, what are they? He goes, oh, these are Japanese candle charts. They were kind enough to talk to me, and as you may know, there's 80 different patterns you can look at in candles. And when I would teach that, I realized who remembered number 1 by the time you got to number 80. Right. You know, which ones are important, how to. Well, I don't do that. What I look at is what does it represent? What would I see on the floor of an exchange in terms of order flow? And so I look at it as a measure of buying and selling. Okay. So if you see a green body, that represents buying to me where the close is above the open. A red body, the close below the open, I think represents sellers. A line on the bottom called a shadow, I think represents buyers. And the line you'd see on top, I think represents sellers. The size of those gives me an idea of the degree of that buying and selling that we're seeing in the market. So, for example, I mentioned previously that I looked at my stock portfolio in, first in February of 09, which it didn't work because it kept going lower. But I tried it again in March because I had the same technical setup. I'll tell you what the setup was. It was looking at weekly charts, and what you would see is the market would break lower, so you have a red candle. Right. But by the end of the week, you'd see a shadow on the bottom. Okay. And then the next week, it would break lower. There's a psychological element. People are still bearish on the market. It's been going down for 2 years. They feel it's going to go further down. But it was the change in behavior of buyers trying to come in a downward moving market that were clues that I was looking for.
Okay, so it's really more of a visual impression that you get from watching the weekly candle charts as one of your favorite indicators as opposed to a numerical kind of interpretation.
Yes, I would say I start with monthlies. Right. Because I want to find out, is this market overvalued or undervalued or at value? It doesn't mean it won't participate, I just want to understand where it fits in. Right. Then I do look at weeklies because weeklies force people to make a decision. If it's a stock or a futures contract, on Friday, do you and I want to hold it over the weekend, right? Or do we say, I'm out on Friday, I'll get back in on Monday? So we can see that kind of attitude, I think, in the market. And then the daily gives me a barometer of how the market's absorbing current news. So it's that interpretation that I use to give me a feel and a point of view on the market.
And so the weekly and maybe monthly charts are still pointing towards a relatively favorable investment climate in your assessment.
I think they are. I think they are. The price action still supports, from my point of view, staying long. Nothing telling me to abandon ship. And I think the fundamentals also. You know, we have more people looking for jobs than, right? You know all those statistics that we're seeing that are pretty positive right now for the economy.
Yes.
Who knows what the future is? And you know, I think the key for us, really, and you mentioned it earlier, Marvin, when we were talking off camera, and that's risk. How you and I manage risk.
Right.
At what point do we say, I'm out? And so I think that's important to always keep in mind. But as an investor, I'm in there for the long term.
Okay, so your holding period is months to years, basically.
Correct. On my stock portfolio,
on your stock portfolio,
it's months and years. On my swing trading, on this daily video I do, those are day charts, and those last 1 day to maybe 3 months.
I got you. Very interesting. Well, we're out of time, but would you like to tell our viewers where they can get more information about your investment outlook and services?
I provide a free daily video at dangramza.com. It covers the markets that we've been talking about today. 6 different sectors, stock indexes, currencies, interest rates, metals, energy and agricultural markets. And they're swing trades. These are daily charts. I'm not making trade recommendations because I don't know who's watching the video, but you will see red and green lines which represent a buy and sell level or bullish or bearish level for me. And you can see how someone's adjusting their positions. So how they're trying to identify a trade and how those trades are managed. That's the intent. So if you're not familiar with those different sectors, and these are futures markets, it gives you a way to get a feel for what someone is thinking about and how they're trying to manage those positions.
And that's DanielGramza.com?
It's just DanGramza.
Oh, DanGramza.com. Well, thank you very much for sharing your insights with us, and thank you, viewers, for joining us at the 2018 Chicago Traders Expo.
My pleasure.